Alright students, I just wanted to show you today before we start what your final exam answer sheets are going to look like. This will be the first sheet. If you notice, you'll have room to do the first 8 questions. You're going to do all your work in this space right here, and you're going to put your answers on the side right over here. See, it's just like the type of sheet that I gave you when you took a test in class. And then the other sheet is going to be right over here. Same thing. It'll just be from 9 through 15. Okay, so make sure you email me 2 nice pictures where you show the whole sheet like this. And those are the only 2 sheets you have to email, nothing else. No scrap, no questions. Of course, I'll use different questions next time, so just email me the 2 sheets and I'll mark it within a couple of days. Okay, now we're going to go to the lesson. Welcome back, students. We're now doing part 3 of a review for the final exam, and we're going to start with number 11 where we left off. This is an exponential equation. If you recall, we have to take the smaller number, the smaller base, and multiply it on the other side. But in this problem, when you do that, 25 times 25 is a big number, 625. It's not going to be 125. So that doesn't work. So when that happens, you go back to the smaller base and you break it up. In this case, 5 times 5 is 25. Notice we just used 5. The same number can be used on the other side to get to 125. 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 times 5 gives you exactly 125. So once you're able to use the same number on both sides, you're ready to solve the equation. You're going to have to write it as an exponent. So this is 3 5s, 5 to the 3, to the x power. You bring that down. This is 2 5s, so that's 5 to the second power, and it's to the x plus 2 power on the outside. We bring that down. Okay, now we simplify by just multiplying. So 5 to the 3x, and on the other side we're distributing 2 times x plus 2, so you get 5 to the 2x plus 4. Notice the bases are now equal, so the exponents have to be equal. So 3x equals 2x plus 4, and to solve for x, minus 2x on both sides, and we wind up with the answer, x equals 4. This cancels. Okay, so that's number 1, x equals 4. Let's go to number 12. This is to evaluate a function, and it's going to be at a given value, in this case negative 3. So you're going to copy what you see on the right of the f of x, and you're going to put the negative 3 wherever you see x. I always do it in parentheses because it makes it easier for students to see what to do. Okay, now think of order of operations. Parentheses and exponents go first. Here's a parentheses with an exponent. So negative 3 squared is negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. Then you have multiplication, 3 multiplied by negative 3, that's negative 9. And then you have a subtraction in the middle, we'll just bring that down. Okay, so far we're down to negative 9 and negative 9. Now these are 2 sign numbers. They're both like signs. When you have like signs, you add and you keep the same sign. And that's it. We just evaluated it. Okay, so you'll find more of these, of course, in your notes because we did this when we were meeting in class. All right, let's go to number 13. 13 is a parabola, but I remind you that you do not have to graph it. You have to find the vertex in this case. Okay, now there's 2 possible questions that you could be asked. Vertex or axis of symmetry. In this case, it's the vertex, but you still have to find the axis of symmetry. Now remember, a parabola is always in this format. A number, the x squared, a number, the x, and a number. This is in that format, but it's actually backwards. So we're going to rewrite it, put the x squared first, plus x squared, of course, is the same as x squared. This would be a plus 4x. The last part, which represents c, is 0. You don't even need that because the formula we're about to use doesn't use a c. Remember this formula, x equals minus b over 2a. Okay, we're going to use that formula and find the axis of symmetry first. So in this case, A is 1, B is 4. We need to do minus B, so we change the sign, minus 4. 2 times A is just 2 times 1. And we simplify this. This will be minus 4 divided by 2, which of course is negative 2. Remember, it's x equals negative 2. Now, we're almost there. We already know the x value. That of course is the axis of symmetry, and that's also the x value in the vertex. The vertex is a coordinate, and the x value is right here from the axis of symmetry. Okay, to find the y value, just go back to the equation. You could use this one or this one, it doesn't matter, and we substitute x equals negative 2. I'll use the top one. We get 4 times negative 2 plus negative 2 squared. Okay, and again, order of operations, you square it, then you multiply, and then of course the plus sign means we're going to add. So we're adding a negative 8 and a positive 4. Signs are unlike, so you subtract, keep the sign of the larger number. Okay, so now we know the y value of the vertex goes right here. Make sure your final answer, if they ask for vertex, you write this. If the question is asking for the axis of symmetry, then you would write this. So pay attention to the question, because it's important that you answer the question to get full credit. Okay, in this problem they wanted the vertex, so we need this answer. Okay, let's go on to number 14. 14 I'm going to write down, and I'm going to read it right from here. It's the problem. See, remember the ladder problem? That's what this is. It says a ladder 18 feet long leans against a wall. So I'm going to draw it. You could just draw a line for the wall. The ladder is somewhere leaning against the building, and they're telling you it's 18 feet. Okay, then it goes on to say the foot of the ladder makes an angle of 65 degrees with the ground. Now the foot of the ladder is at the bottom. Sometimes they use the word the base. Base is also at the bottom. So the base, or the foot of the ladder, makes an angle with the ground, that's the ground, and it's telling you that it's 65 degrees. So 65 degrees goes right there. The wall automatically comes straight down, making a right angle. Okay, and then the question says, how far up the wall will the ladder reach? How far up the wall will the ladder reach? That's the distance from here till the ladder touches on the wall. So we'll call that x. Okay, now we have to figure out what we're going to use. So you start with the angle. Notice you have an opposite, which is x. You have a hypotenuse. The number on the hypotenuse was 18. Okay, so that we're using opposite and hypotenuse, which is sine. So sine of the angle, 65, equals opposite x, that goes on top, over hypotenuse, which is 18, that goes on the bottom. Okay, now remember, you'll be given the trig values just like you see over here. See the trig values? We need the one that says sine, which is the first one in the parentheses, and it says sine of 65 equals 0.91. All you have to do is use that number, but of course you got to use the proper trig function. So 0.91 equals x over 18. To solve for x, we cross multiply. X times 1 is x, and all we have to do is 0.91 times 18. Okay, 8 times 1, 8 times 9, 1119, add it up. Okay, and then the decimal has to be counted back in your answer, 2 places back. So the answer is 16.38 feet. Okay, and that's it. That reminds you how to do the trig problem. Okay, last but not least, we go to this problem where we have to simplify. This is a logarithm problem. Okay, let's do the top first. Log 4 of 8. We'll put it equal to x. And in order to solve for x, you have to change it from this format, which is called logarithmic form, into what's called exponential form. This would be the base. You write it regular size. Whatever the log of this thing equals, that's the exponent that goes on the base. and that equals the value, which is this number right here, the 8. Okay, so changing it to what's called exponential form, you now have to solve for x. If you take the smaller base and multiply on the other side, it doesn't work. 4 times 4 is 16, but you want 8. So when it doesn't work, you go back to the smaller base and you break it up. And that part should not be hard. It's just 2 times 2, which is 4. Since we use 2 here, we have to use 2 on the other side. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. See how it works where you're getting 2's on both sides? Now we're going to write it using exponents. 2 squared to the x power, we got to bring that down, and we'll separate it with parentheses. Okay, this side is just simply 3 2's, because it was originally 8, so it's just 2 to the third. Okay, and we'll simplify the left side just to make it easier. So it's 2 to the 2 times x, or 2x, equals 2 to the third. Notice that the bases are equal. That makes the exponents equal. So you get 2x equals 3. Divide by 2. And you get x equals, you could just simply copy and say 3 divided by 2, or 3 over 2, and you're done. Okay, some people write it as 1.5. Sorry students, this got a little cut. It was the camera that shut off, so I'm just going to re-explain this part. Okay, you recall we were doing this problem, and we got 3 over 2. 3 over 2 is the answer for this. Log 4 of 8 equals x. So that would go up here. 3 over 2. You also need log of 1,000. Well, notice 1,000 has a 1 and 3 zeros. Remember I showed you the shortcut? Just count the zeros, so that's 3. So now we have to take 3 over 2, divide it by 3, and simplify it. Don't forget to simplify. Okay, I like to do the LCD method because you could see right away when you put this over 1 that the LCD is 2. Times it both of them by 2, and you'll get the 2's cancel. You'll get 3 on the top. The bottom, nothing cancels. Just 3 times 2 is 6. You don't need the 1. And then, of course, 3/6 is the same when you reduce it to 1/2. Now, 1/2 is a simplified answer. You have to make sure you get it down to 1/2. If you want to, you could also say 3 over 2 divided by 3 and do it this way. Whenever you have two fractions, a fraction over a fraction, you could always do this if you want. And then, of course, you write the first fraction, change it to multiply, and when you divide, you do the reciprocal. 3 over 1 becomes 1 over 3. Notice the 3's cancel, and you'll get 1/2 right away. Okay, so it's your choice when it's only two fractions, one on the top, one on the bottom. You could do it either way. All right, now you have all the answers. Make sure you practice and take your time with the final, and don't forget to email it to me on time. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.